It was supposed to be a peaceful summer evening in Graystone Cove. The tide had rolled in quietly. Tourists lingered on the boardwalk, buying ice cream cones softly against the pier, and seagulls cut across a fading orange sky. Her name was Eleanor Blackwood. What actually happened to the missing heiress, who's behind her disappearance? We're gonna find out, but before we dive deeper into the tale, please kindly comment below where you are watching from, and also don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy this story with suspense, twists and emotional depth. Thanks. At just 25, Eleanor wasn't just another local girl. She was the heiress to the Blackwood shipping fortune, a dynasty that had controlled the docks of Graystone Cove for over a century. Elegant, private and fiercely independent, Eleanor was both admired and resented. To some, she was the future of the town. To others, she was just another Blackwood, born into power, untouched by hardship. That night, she was last seen leaving a charity gala at the Blackwood Manor. She never came home. A slow zoom on a grand seaside mansion lit with golden chandeliers. Guests in evening gowns and tuxedos step into waiting cars. The camera lingers on the gate, slowly closing behind them. The timeline is as chilling as it is precise. 10:42 p.m., security cameras show Eleanor leaving the gala, smiling faintly as she waves goodbye to friends. 10:55 p.m., her black Mercedes drives past the lighthouse, heading toward her private cottage on the cliffs. 11:20 p.m., a local fisherman reports seeing her car pulled over near Harbor Road. The driver's side door stood wide open. Midnight, police discover the Mercedes abandoned, headlights still glowing. Eleanor is gone. Inside the car, her handbag, a half-finished glass of champagne, and a single high-heeled shoe. Police lights flash on a lonely coastal road. A sleek black car sits abandoned, its door open, headlights casting pale beams into the fog. An officer shines a flashlight inside. The discovery ignited panic. This wasn't just a missing person. This was a missing heiress. A young woman with wealth, enemies, and a family history tangled in business rivalries. By dawn, the town was swarming with police, reporters, and curious onlookers. Theories spread like wildfire. Was it a kidnapping for ransom? An inside job? Or had Eleanor uncovered something she wasn't meant to see? News vans line the street. A crowd gathers near police tape. Reporters speak urgently into cameras as uniformed officers block the view of the car. Detectives quickly piece together troubling details. Eleanor had argued with her brother earlier that evening, overheard by staff at the gala. He stood to inherit the family empire if anything happened to her. Her phone records revealed late-night calls with an unknown number, one that traced back to a disposable cell. And in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, she told a close friend she felt watched. Someone had been following her. The Blackwood family offered a $5 million reward for her safe return. But no ransom call ever came. Days turned into weeks, and the search for Eleanor became more desperate. Then one clue shifted the investigation. A fisherman out before dawn found something tangled in his net. A silk scarf, pale blue, embroidered with the Blackwood crest. It matched the one Eleanor wore at the gala. The scarf was damp, frayed, and stained with something dark. Blood. A fisherman pulls a tattered scarf from a net. The fabric drips seawater under the harsh light of a lantern. A close-up reveals embroidered initials and faint stains. The town of Graystone Cove no longer felt safe. Parents kept children indoors. Neighbors eyed each other with suspicion. Detectives traced every lead, questioned every guest at the gala, and combed the rocky cliffs inch by inch. A stormy sky over the old lighthouse. Its beam slices through the night fog as waves crash violently against the rocky cliffs below. The lighthouse at Graystone Cove hadn't been operational in years. Its windows were broken, its door rusted, its walls scarred by decades of sea spray. Locals avoided it. Some said it was haunted. Others said it was used by smugglers who slipped through the cove under moonlight. Now it was the center of the investigation. On June 12, just after dawn, detectives arrived with search dogs, hoping the crumbling tower would hold answers. Police officers pry open a weathered wooden door. A beam of light cuts through the dust as investigators step cautiously into the dark interior. Inside, the lighthouse smelled of damp stone and rust. The spiral staircase creaked under every step. The ground floor was littered with empty bottles, cigarette butts, and graffiti. Evidence of trespassers, yes, but not of Eleanor. Then, on the second level, an officer spotted something out of place. A silk handkerchief. Pale blue. Torn at the corner. It matched the scarf pulled from the fisherman's net. A close-up shot of a gloved hand lifting a delicate, torn handkerchief from the floor. The initials EB, are faintly embroidered at the edge. The discovery rattled detectives. Someone had lured Eleanor here, and she had been inside this tower. But there was more. At the top of the staircase, tucked beneath a loose floorboard, they found a small silver locket. Inside, a photograph of Eleanor as a child, standing beside her late mother, was proof. She had been here. But the question remained, had she come willingly or had she been forced? An investigator kneels on the dusty lighthouse floor, pulling a tarnished silver locket from beneath a cracked board. The camera lingers on the photo inside. Back in town, the discovery set off a frenzy. Theories multiplied. Had Eleanor arranged a secret meeting? Was she hiding an affair? Or had she uncovered something sinister about her family's shipping empire, something worth silencing her over? The Blackwood family remained tight-lipped. But locals whispered of long-standing rivalries with another powerful family, the Crowleys. Could Eleanor have been caught in a feud that was far darker than anyone imagined? Detectives kept combing the lighthouse, refusing to leave until every shadow had been searched. That's when they found it. At the very base of the lighthouse, hidden behind rotting beams, was a narrow trapdoor. It led downward, beneath the lighthouse itself, into a tunnel carved directly into the rock. The air was damp, the walls slick with salt water. A flashlight beam cuts through darkness, revealing a narrow stone tunnel. Water in the tunnel stretched deep into the earth. Drips from the ceiling. The camera follows as investigators step carefully into the shadows. The lead detective described the moment later as walking into the unknown. For decades, rumors had swirled about secret passageways under Graystone Cove, tunnels used by bootleggers and smugglers to move contraband unseen. Now, one of those tunnels lay before them. Did Eleanor walk into it that night? Or was she dragged against her will? The truth waited in the darkness. The trapdoor groaned as it opened. A cold draft escaped, carrying the smell of seawater and rot. Detectives shone their flashlights into the opening, revealing a narrow stone passage. The walls were damp, the floor uneven, and water dripped steadily from the ceiling. The tunnel stretched into darkness. Was this where Eleanor Blackwood had gone? A dim beam of light cuts through a tunnel. Rough stone walls glisten with moisture. The camera pans down a winding passage disappearing into blackness. The team descended slowly, their footsteps echoing. Each corner brought new dread. The air was heavy, suffocating, as if the walls themselves were closing in. Half a mile in, they found the first clue. A woman's bracelet. Silver, delicate, with a broken clasp. Eleanor's friends later confirmed, it belonged to her. She had been down here. A gloved hand lifts a broken silver bracelet from the wet tunnel floor. A flashlight beam catches the shimmer of metal against the darkness. The tunnel forked. To the left, it curved toward the cliffs. To the right, it sloped downward, deeper underground. The dogs barked wildly, pulling investigators toward the right passage. And then, silence. The dogs refused to go further. Whining, straining against their leashes, they backed away. Something was wrong. A police dog growls, its handler struggling to pull it forward. The tunnel ahead is swallowed in complete darkness, the beam of a flashlight barely penetrating the void. When detectives pressed forward, their flashlights caught something etched into the wall. Symbols. Strange markings carved deep into the stone, circles, arrows, and what looked like initials. At the bottom, a single word scratched in frantic strokes. Help. A close-up of a stone wall reveals crude carvings. Symbols and initials scratched deep into the rock, and the word help faintly visible under the beam of a flashlight. Panic rippled through the team. Had Eleanor carved it herself? Was she trapped somewhere in these tunnels? The deeper they went, the more the air seemed to change. The walls narrowed, the dripping grew louder, and faintly, just faintly, there was another sound. Breathing. They stopped listening. The tunnel ahead was pitch black. The detective in front raised his flashlight, hand trembling. The beam shook as it landed on something lying in the mud. A leather shoe. Elegant. Mud-stained. The matching shoe to the one found in Eleanor's abandoned car. The camera closes in on a single mud-soaked high heel lying in a pool of water. The flashlight beam lingers, the sound of dripping echoing in the tunnel. The officers knew then, Eleanor had been here. But she wasn't alone. Somebody else had walked these tunnels. Somebody who had planned every step. And just as the team prepared to press further, a sudden crash echoed behind them, the sound of the trapdoor above slamming shut. They were no longer just searching for Eleanor. They were trapped. Detectives fight to escape the tunnels, and uncover a hidden chamber that reveals shocking truths about Eleanor Blackwood's disappearance. The sound of the trapdoor slamming shut echoed through the tunnels. The investigators froze. Had it been the wind? Or had someone sealed them inside? The air grew heavier with every passing second. The only way out now was forward. A flashlight beam darts across a stone ceiling as dust falls. The camera shifts to a group of investigators, tense and silent, in a narrow underground passage. They pressed deeper into the right-hand tunnel, every step a gamble. The passage sloped downward until the air smelled of salt and mold. The sound of the sea was faint, muffled by thick rock walls. Then the lead detective's beam landed on something unnatural. A door. Heavy. Iron-banded. Hidden behind stacked crates rotting with age. Someone had wanted it concealed. A slow pan reveals a heavy wooden door reinforced with rusted iron straps, half covered by broken crates. Water drips steadily from the ceiling. With a crowbar and force, the team pried the door open. The hinges screamed. Inside was a chamber. A room carved into the stone itself, hidden for decades. Candles sat melted into pools of wax. Old furniture was draped in sheets of dust. Empty wine bottles lay scattered, along with rusted tools. But what froze everyone in place was the writing on the wall. Scrawled in black paint were dozens of phrases, repeating like a chant. The sea takes what it's owed. In the center of the chamber sat a chair. A velvet chair, oddly out of place among the decay. On it lay a length of rope. Frayed. Recently cut. Beside it, another piece of evidence tied to Eleanor Blackwood. Her compact mirror. The same one she had carried at the gala. Fingerprints smeared its surface. The team felt the walls closing in. This wasn't just a hiding place. It was a lair. And someone had kept Eleanor here. The question was how long, and where she had been taken afterward. Before they could search further, the silence shattered. A metallic clang echoed from the tunnel behind them. Then footsteps. Slow, deliberate, approaching. The detectives killed their lights. The chamber plunged into darkness. The footsteps grew closer. Whoever it was, they knew the tunnels well. One of the officers raised his weapon, heart pounding, breath shallow. The beam of a flashlight suddenly cut through the chamber, but it wasn't theirs. The light swept the room, paused on the velvet chair, then moved toward the team. A blinding flashlight beam pierces the darkness of the chamber. The lens flare obscures the figure holding it. The camera shakes, building tension as the light advances toward the investigators. The figure stopped in the doorway. A silhouette. Broad shoulders. Motionless. Then, in a voice calm and cold, they spoke just 4 words. You shouldn't be here. The chamber fell silent. And with that, the light clicked off, leaving the team in total darkness. The hunt for the mysterious figure intensifies, and a shocking discovery links Eleanor Blackwood's disappearance to the darkest secrets of Graystone Cove's past. Darkness swallowed the chamber. The stranger's voice still echoed in their ears. You shouldn't be here. The investigators froze, guns drawn, straining to hear movement. But the footsteps that had approached were now retreating. Whoever it was had vanished into the tunnels. A pitch-black tunnel. The faint echo of fading footsteps reverberates as the beam of a flashlight scans wildly across the dripping stone walls. The team scrambled to relight their flashlights. When the beams cut back on, the chamber was exactly as they had left it, except for one chilling detail. The compact mirror. It was gone. Someone had slipped into the chamber, stood just feet from them in the dark, and stolen the only piece of evidence tying Eleanor to the room. A gloved hand shines a light onto the velvet chair. The rope remains, but the mirror is missing. The camera lingers on the empty spot where it once lay. The detectives knew then, this wasn't just a cold trail. Whoever had Eleanor or knew what happened to her, was still watching. And they weren't afraid to show it. By morning, the tunnels were sealed. A full team was sent to sweep every inch, mapping the underground network that sprawled beneath Graystone Cove. It wasn't just a single tunnel. It was an entire labyrinth. Passages twisting under the cliffs, stretching toward the docks, even reaching beneath the Blackwood estate itself. Who built them? And why were they still being used? A map sketch overlays the screen, showing tunnels branching under the town and stretching toward the coast. Investigators place markers on key locations: the lighthouse, the docks, the manor. The discovery sparked an even darker theory. For decades, whispers claimed the Blackwood Shipping Company wasn't just moving legal cargo. That hidden within crates of fish and supplies were contraband, smuggled through secret routes. Could Eleanor have uncovered proof of this? Was that why she disappeared? Detectives confronted the Blackwood family, but they stonewalled every question. Her brother insisted Eleanor was unstable. Her father claimed the tunnels were nothing more than relics of the Prohibition era. But her mother broke down in tears. And through sobs, she said a single sentence that would change the course of the investigation. "This has happened before." A close-up of Eleanor's grieving mother at the gates of Blackwood Manor. Her tear-streaked face is illuminated by flashing cameras as reporters lean in. The detectives pressed. What did she mean? Her mother refused to explain further, but old records revealed a haunting pattern. In 1973, another Blackwood daughter vanished under mysterious circumstances. She was never found. And in 1921, local newspapers described the drowning of a Blackwood bride on her wedding night, swept away by the sea near the lighthouse. The phrase carved into the chamber wall suddenly echoed louder. The sea takes what it's owed. Archival black and white photographs of missing women. Old newspaper headlines flash across the screen: Blackwood heiress vanishes, bride lost at sea. The words overlap with the carved phrase on the stone wall. Eleanor's disappearance wasn't an isolated tragedy. It was part of a legacy. A legacy that someone in Graystone Cove was determined to protect, no matter the cost. But just as detectives began to connect the past to the present, an anonymous package arrived at the police station. Inside was a single Polaroid photograph. It showed Eleanor, alive, bound to the velvet chair in the hidden chamber. And scrawled across the bottom of the picture were 4 words: "She belongs to us." The investigation turns into a race against time. Who sent the photograph, and does it mean Eleanor is still alive somewhere beneath Graystone Cove? The photograph sent shockwaves through the investigation. Eleanor Blackwood, alive, terrified, bound to the velvet chair in the hidden chamber. Her eyes in the picture told a story words could not. Desperation, pleading, fear. But there was something else. Behind her, faint but visible, was the outline of a window. A window that didn't exist in the chamber beneath the lighthouse. A Polaroid photo rests on a detective's desk. The camera zooms in to show Eleanor tied to the velvet chair, her eyes wide with fear. In the blurred background, a faint window frame is visible. The discovery raised chilling questions. Was the photo staged? Had she been moved? Or was there another chamber, one they had not yet found? Forensic experts examined the picture. The film stock dated it within the last 2 weeks, meaning Eleanor might still be alive. Detectives raced to retrace every tunnel, every hidden passage beneath Graystone Cove. That's when they found it, a sealed corridor behind the Blackwood Manor itself. It led to a forgotten wine cellar. Inside, the air was stale, heavy with mildew. And along the far wall, hidden behind collapsed shelves, was another iron door. Scratches scarred its surface. Long, frantic claw marks as if someone had tried to escape. Investigators pull aside collapsed wine racks, revealing a rusted iron door in the shadows. Deep scratch marks are etched into the metal, illuminated by flashlight beams. The detectives forced the door open. The room beyond mirrored the chamber in the lighthouse. The same stone walls. The same candle wax dripping onto the floor. But this room had the window. And the velvet chair sat empty at its center. A rope dangled loosely from one armrest. And on the floor lay something that made the lead investigator's blood run cold. A strand of Eleanor's long black hair. A velvet chair sits empty in a dim stone room. A single rope hangs slack. The camera pans down to the floor, where a strand of dark hair glimmers in the flashlight's glow. They were close. Too close. But as the team pressed further into the manor's tunnels, a sudden explosion shook the ground. Dust rained from the ceiling, and one passage collapsed in a cloud of stone and earth. Someone was sealing the exits. The investigators barely escaped through the cellar. By the time they regrouped outside, the hidden chamber was gone, buried beneath rubble. And with it, their best chance of finding Eleanor. Chaos erupts as rocks and dust collapse into a tunnel. Flashlights swing wildly. Officers cough and scramble toward a narrow exit as the passage seals behind them. The collapse confirmed their worst fear. Whoever held Eleanor wasn't just one step ahead. They were watching every move. That night, the Blackwood family mansion became the focus. Search warrants turned the house upside down. In Eleanor's bedroom, hidden beneath the floorboards, detectives found a locked journal. Inside were pages of Eleanor's handwriting. Desperate entries about being followed. Notes about whispered arguments overheard between her father and brother. And one line repeated in shaky script. "They want me gone." A gloved hand flips through a leather-bound journal. The pages are filled with frantic handwriting. The camera lingers on one line, underlined 3 times, "They want me gone." The revelation shattered the Blackwood family's public image. Was Eleanor's disappearance tied not to strangers, but to her own bloodline? Had her family been complicit all along? Before detectives could confront them, another package arrived. This time not a photograph, but a VHS tape. Its label read only, "For the police." Inside the station, the tape rolled on an old monitor. The screen flickered. The sound crackled. And then, Eleanor's face filled the frame. Her voice trembled as she whispered words that would freeze the entire room. "If you're watching this, it's already too late." The VHS tape reveals Eleanor's haunting last message, and the shocking truth about who orchestrated her disappearance in Graystone Cove. The VHS tape hissed as the screen flickered to life. Eleanor sat in the frame, pale and exhausted. Her wrists bore faint red marks. A single candle burned beside her, throwing her face into shadow. Her voice was fragile, almost broken. "If you're watching this, then I know they've won." She paused, swallowing back tears. "It was never strangers. It was my family. They want me gone, because I know the truth about them." A VHS player spins, the grainy tape playing on an old television. Eleanor's trembling face fills the screen, candlelight flickering against her pale skin. The detectives in the room went still. The name Blackwood carried weight, wealth, power, influence. But now the heiress herself was pointing the finger back home. Eleanor leaned closer to the camera. Her words came in a whisper. "The fortune is built on fraud, on blood. If I vanish, know this, it wasn't an accident. It was them." The tape stuttered. For a moment her expression froze, eyes wide, lips trembling. Then she spoke the words that would haunt the town forever. "Please, tell the truth. Even if I can't." Close-up of Eleanor on the VHS tape. Her whisper echoes faintly, the static buzz heavy in the background. The camera lingers on her haunted expression before the tape glitches. The tape ended in a burst of static. But its impact was immediate. Search warrants were issued for every corner of the Blackwood estate. Detectives scoured the manor, the tunnels, the chambers. But they found nothing. No body. No signs of struggle. Just empty rooms and silence. The Blackwoods denied everything. Lawyers shielded them. Evidence vanished. Witnesses were silenced by fear or money. And Eleanor Blackwood was never seen again. Investigators stormed through Blackwood Manor. Dark hallways, rooms torn apart, flashlights cutting through dust. But all they uncover are empty, lifeless chambers. For the people of Graystone Cove, the story twisted into legend. Some believed Eleanor had been buried in the tunnels beneath the manor. Others swore she had been cast into the sea, her body swallowed by the waves. And there were those who whispered she still walked among them, a restless spirit seeking justice in the shadows of the town. A nighttime shot of the Graystone Cove cliffs. The waves crash violently below. A faint, ghostly silhouette seems to linger at the edge, before fading into mist. In the end, the truth was buried with her. The Blackwood name crumbled. Their fortune drained away in lawsuits and scandal. The mansion, once a symbol of power, stood abandoned, its windows shattered, its halls silent. But Eleanor's story never left Graystone Cove. Even decades later, townspeople leave flowers at the gates of the manor. Small offerings for the heiress who never returned. Her face, frozen in that VHS tape, still stares back at investigators. Still asking for justice. Still begging for truth. A rusting gate with flowers tied to it. Behind it, the empty Blackwood Manor looms, dark and silent. The camera pulls back slowly, the sound of wind and distant waves filling the silence. And so, the heiress of Graystone Cove remains missing. No body. No grave. No closure. Only whispers of betrayal, a haunting recording, and a family name forever tainted. Her final words linger in the air, unanswered. "Please, tell the truth." At what point in Eleanor Blackwood's ordeal reverberated with you mostly? Was it the betrayal from the people she trusted the most, her suffering, or possibly the efforts of the investigators to unravel the mystery behind her disappearance? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, please kindly subscribe, like and share to others. Appreciate it.